All right, we are here at Sparks Orthopedic and Sports Medicine on Rainbow Drive with Dr. D. Eric Sparks once again. Had a lot of positive feedback from his last visit on the show, so we definitely want to bring him on again. And looking forward to many more opportunities to sit down with Dr. D. Eric and talk about these sports injuries that we get asked about a lot of times. And this segment is going to be brought to you by Amber Perry with Rodan and Fields. And as Buddy said, it's the gateway to your financial future, correct?
Good beach money.
I like where your head's at, man. Who don't need beach money?
Absolutely.
Or mountain money for you people who don't like to go to the beach, such as myself. But this week is a topic, and we've actually had movies made about this topic, and this is something that's a little bit, I'm not saying ACLs are not serious, they're a little bit more common, but well, I don't know if they're common. We don't know the numbers yet. We're about to find those out. But what we're talking about is something that could be, lingering and serious moving forward in life, especially reoccurring injuries, and that's going to be concussions. And as football's changed over the years and equipment's changed, they've had some things to combat that and help with that. But let's get into the nuts and bolts exactly what a concussion is, first of all, and I think we'll start right there with Dr. D. Eric Sparks.
So first, just the numbers, like we talked about ACLs last week a little bit, the numbers for concussions, there's approximately 3.8 million concussions in a year, okay? That's a lot. And that's an estimated number because we know that some concussions are unreported. So we believe that that's an underreported injury. Okay, so but the estimates are anywhere, the CDC estimates it's anywhere from 1.6 to 3.8 million sports-related concussions. This is not including car accidents and other things. This is sports-related concussions, okay?
That's unbelievable.
And that number represents somewhere around 8 to 10% of all injuries, sports injuries in the United States. So it represents a huge portion. Basically, let's just say 10% of all sports injuries are a concussion. Okay?
That's unbelievable.
So it is a huge injury that we're all going to see. We all see in the teams we support, or if we play, we see it amongst teammates. So absolutely everybody's going to see someone very close to them with a concussion. If you're involved in sports. A concussion itself, what it is, first of all, is it is a traumatic injury to the brain, okay? It's transient, just meaning that it's temporary, and it happens due to some physical force. It does not have to be a direct blow on the head. It can be, but it can be an indirect blow on the body, which leads to the brain actually moving inside the skull and hitting the inside of the skull. So it can be a direct injury to the head, but it also can be an indirect injury.
Is that kind of like a whiplash, sort of?
It's kind of like that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So certainly in car accidents, you can get a concussion from something like that, a whiplash type injury. But concussions are transient, and they're usually it's self-limited, meaning that the interventions that we do to make them better are just really supportive. So concussions in general heal on their own, or your brain goes back to function normally through its own healing.
And so, and like we talked about the equipment, especially football helmets, which seem to change yearly. They get lighter and supposedly safer, but I don't know if that's necessarily true because the concussions keep happening. Because I personally think it's because everybody keeps getting bigger, faster, and stronger. But the rule changes has definitely helped with helmet-to-helmet contact, which I think has definitely cut down on concussions. Have you seen a decrease since the helmet-to-helmet rule came into place? I think it was was it 3 years ago? That it came in. Have you seen a decrease in numbers, or is it about the same during football season?
So if you look at the numbers, it's still about the same. If you look at the NFL's numbers, what you would see is that they have done some things to even further, besides just helmet to helmet, to try to reduce concussions, because in their population, which is probably the best studied and easiest studied population,
right.
Okay? Because they're a contained group where they can get all this information. But limiting special teams plays, kicking, kick returns, punt returns, these kind of things have decreased concussions. In their population, helmet-to-helmet rules have decreased concussions. So all the rules that are going in that population, we are seeing a decrease. So it should trickle down into the collegiate and high school level athletes, and so hopefully we'll see all those rule changes come down and see that we see decreased concussions as well.
That would be a positive.
Can you talk about, I know there's a concussion protocol where they have to be out for X amount of time and then they have to be, I think, released from the doctor, is that correct?
That's correct.
What is the time frame? They've got like they have a concussion on Friday night, you guys see them, so all right, it's definitely a concussion. How long do they have to stay out before they can return? And I know it's severity, it
is. So, return to play is a graduated return to play, okay? So first of all, any athlete who has a suspected concussion is out from that point of time. They cannot return on the same day, okay? Sure. So that is in stone, they can't return, okay? And then we begin that graduated return to play at the point in time when the symptoms are gone. So symptoms of a concussion, okay? The most common symptom is just a headache, okay? Then you'll see visual trouble, balance trouble, sensitivity to light and noise. So there's a lot of different symptoms, but once all those symptoms have resolved, then you can begin the graduated return to play. And the graduated return to play basically is a controlled way to take a patient and expose them to some of the risks and make sure they don't redevelop symptoms. So the first stage is just, let's say we've held a kid out of school and he's better now. So the first stage is just go back to normal activities. That's day one. The second stage is introduce light aerobic activities, okay? The third is sports related activities, and then adding kids back into a practice environment. In football, we make them hit a dummy, something more controlled first before they can hit a actual person.
Is that something that you have the coaches do, or do y'all actually monitor that? How's that monitored?
In general, the best case scenario is for it to be monitored by the athletic trainer at the school.
Okay.
So in places where we don't have an athletic trainer, then it's going to have to be monitored by the coach, unfortunately. Because that's just another task that a coach has to put on their plate, right?
All coaches all the way down to Little League have to take a concussion training.
They absolutely do. They absolutely do. Yep.
I'm glad we're more aware of the things about concussions now. Now, this is the unfortunate part of concussions. Is it true, first of all, it's a two-part question. Is it true that if you do receive the first concussion, it's easier to get concussions after that? I've always heard that. I don't know if that's a myth. And the second part of that, what are some of the long-term effects that could come from a severe concussion?
So the numbers on repeat concussions would say that you're somewhere, if you have one concussion, you're somewhere between 1.6, there was several studies done, 1.6 to 5 times more likely to have another concussion. So absolutely, if you have had a concussion, you are more likely or more at risk, okay, to have a second concussion. And then the long-term effects of concussions are absolutely debatable, and they have huge conferences with neurologists all over the world giving expert opinions to say what those long-term effects are. The one that most people have heard of is CTE, right? Yeah. Which really is a post-mortem diagnosis, okay? You only make that diagnosis based on an autopsy after you've passed. And the exact relationship of concussion to that, I would say the experts haven't even decided on that yet. So
it's crazy.
It makes sense if you look at it just visually that the more times you've had these concussions, the more brain damage that's going to give you going forward. But to see a direct causal relationship, to write it down on paper and say that's the way it is, I don't think that is, the medical community has decided on that yet.
That's why there's a lot of unknowns then.
Yeah, I understand why the NFL, they've taken the steps that they have. Because there's been a lot of issues with players in the past having multiple concussions and the long-term effects. Makes sense now.
Like Bill Romanowski's one that comes to mind a lot. There's several players, and like you said, the same thing with ACL. Before it was diagnosed properly, how many people had them and played through them? Rub some dirt on it and go back in. I mean, this is not a rub some dirt on it, go back in type deal. This is something that could really, really mess you up. This is really, really serious.
Yeah.
So, like you said, first of all, some takeaways. There's not a true way to care for this except for it kind of heals on its own and stay out of light and calm. I'm sure keep your blood pressure down probably helps, things like that. Also, there can be long-term effects. You also, if you've had one, you're way more likely to get another one. And the rule changes have helped, but you haven't seen a true decrease around here, so they're still happening at a pretty large number.
Significant rate.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, all right. Well, I think I've definitely learned a lot on this, just like I did the ACL. So
Definitely.
So now, next time we're around a picnic, somebody starts talking about concussions, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Let me step in here for a minute. Sorry guys, let me show y'all something. But yeah, I appreciate you sitting in with us. This has been really educational, and again, this is another one that we talk about and we run into. Several times during the year, players that we cover and teams that we cover will have a star out or a player out with concussion. So now that we know, now we can better know what he's going through. So yeah, it's definitely helpful. I appreciate you, Eric. Thank you so much for the opportunity sitting in with us, sir.
Yes,
No
sir.
problem. Thank you.
All right, our first game up today. I'm fortunate enough to have these two Hokes Bluff Eagles. Well, I actually got three Hokes Bluff Eagles in with us right now. Counting Buddy Ford, he's kind of got Polk High stories like Al Bundy. But long story short, I'm gonna let these two gentlemen introduce themselves.
Tyler Weaver, I'm a senior at Hokes Bluff, and I play right guard and defensive tackle.
I'm Trent Dilly. I play at Hokes Bluff, and I'm strong safety and wingback.
Last week they had a very tough loss against Southside in a game where they actually led 14-0 and pretty much was controlling the game there for a while. The field conditions I thought came into play. What do you think?
Yeah, they did. But actually, I think that they played right into Mike Robertson's his style of play. Let's keep the ball on the ground. Let's control the clock. So field condition wise, it was right up Hokes Bluff's alley, I think.
I agree. Now coming into the game, you said you played right guard. I know you guys have a pretty good bit of size on that offensive line. I know Coach Rob's game plan is usually to run the ball. Talk about y'all's preparation leading up to that week. I know you're trying to get Tucker going early.
Yeah, it's just a lot of Coach Sexton. He's just studying the film, and we just go over it every day at practice.
I thought they executed good, especially on that first drive.
Right.
Got the turnover and went capitalized.
One of the things I saw, and I know these guys are fully aware of it, was the turnover game. Hokes Bluff lost the turnover game. There were 4 turnovers total, and the fact that they kept Southside to just 21 points was pretty amazing with 4 turnovers.
They just scored 40-something against Lincoln at Lincoln. And they had them at home there and held them to 21.
But tell us how y'all responded to that. I mean, what was say after that last one? What were y'all thinking? I mean, I know you had to get the ball back and score. Was everybody still up and motivated? What was going on, Trent?
I think we just got tired, and we were still playing pretty hard though.
A lot of cramps. I saw a lot of guys cramping. Help me out, man.
Well, now here's the deal. Have you guys obviously had to break down film since that game, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was Rob's message to the team overall when you guys got back and broke that film down?
We needed to work on something like crap.
Was he pleased with the effort?
Yeah, he was pleased with the effort. We just needed to work on our jobs a little better.
Personally, each job. I thought Faulkner played pretty good, being on the road in a hostile environment like that. Tucker ran hard. I mean, you guys up front, I think y'all controlled the line of scrimmage up front for the most part. They had a lot of positives in that game.
There were a lot of positives.
The talking heads around town were like, oh, Southside, this is the year they're going to kill them. And that just wasn't the case.
No, it was.
I mean, Hokes Bluff. Actually, it was Hokes Bluff's game to lose, in my opinion. I mean, I thought they played very well.
Tyler, you had an injury last year, and I know that was a big blow to the offensive line, especially. Tell us a little bit about that. What game did that happen in?
It was, I think, the fourth play on offense in Oneonta.
So it was Oneonta. So that's fairly early in the year. Was it the fourth game or something like that?
Pretty sure.
And you had surgery, is that correct? ACL?
And meniscus.
And meniscus. So we actually had an ACL segment last week that you need to watch,
100%.
Dr. Sparks. So it's very helpful, actually. So how's it feel now? Are you back 100%? You've been in the weight room. How's it going?
I just wear my brace every time I can. Everything I do.
I got a question. You guys got Pleasant Valley rolling in, who just come off a pretty bad loss to West End. Have you guys got the breakdown film on them yet?
Yes, sir.
What would y'all take away from watching film on those guys?
Coach Rob, his favorite saying is, they're not the Green Bay Packers, but we need to go in.
Thinking they're the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah.
Trent, are they a passing team? Because Trent's the defensive back, and a lot of people don't know this. He took Ashton Gullich's spot, which is some pretty big shoes to fill. And Trent
Tell you right now, he's got a better haircut now.
yeah, he does have a better haircut. But
Tell you
Trent
that right
is
now.
the only senior defensive back that Hokes Bluff is starting right now. So, what have you seen from Pleasant Valley as far as what you're going to have to do?
They're more of a running team and they're real physical.
So they're a physical football
Yeah,
team.
we're going to have to hit them in the mouth.
I like it.
Sort of right up Hokes Bluff's alley. That's why they call it the woodshed.
Good. I like it.
There's an old saying, you're not going to out Hokes Bluff.
That's right.
You're
And you're
out
not.
Hokes Bluff.
You're not. You may beat them, but you're not going to out Hokes Bluff them.
Yeah.
That means physical, hard-nosed football. Well, guys, we appreciate you coming in. We appreciate you guys breaking it down to the better haircuts we've ever seen.
Yes.
So let's keep you guys rolling on, and looking forward to seeing you guys coming back sometime.
We'll bring them back when we do the mullet segment, because
Great.
these guys definitely have it going on with the mullets.
And we're on to the next one. All right, our next game is going to bring us to Collinsville is going to be hosting Fyffe. And when you talk about hosting Fyffe, the whole side of the mountain up there is going to be at this game. Last year, both of those games were huge in attendance. I know they have restrictions with COVID-19, but they may get stretched a little bit with these two play each other. And such a big atmosphere, and two of the best overall football games we've seen last year. But I have technically three Collinsville Panthers, to my right, your left. And I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves.
Keaton D-Board.
Trevor Arnold.
World famous Trevor Arnold.
He's back.
Alumni.
All right, so D-Board, Mr. D-Board. Last week, you guys actually played, I consider a rival, Ross, would you consider them a rival? And actually got a pretty big win, 24-6 over a 5A team. That's got to help your confidence going into this game versus Fyffe. And you did a little damage last week. You want to talk about that? How many touchdowns do you have?
2.
He's modest. There's no bad offense for this guy. Anyway, so going into that, talk about last week's game and your preparation leading up to it.
Well, Coach talked about, like, the whole week, he talked about just doing your job and just playing hard and not letting anything get to you. So that's what we try to do.
Did he use the word mortar in it?
Not last week, surprisingly. He
Okay.
usually does that.
He's easing off the throttle a little bit. I like it. Mr. Orrs, good to have you back, man. Good to have you here. 'Cause last year, I guess Trevor and them were too cool to bring you down here, man.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Trevor, what's up with that?
Making me look like the bad guy here.
And Mr. Orr, you actually, I'm gonna give you mad props because you're on that pass play last year. You're the only human being on earth that basically caused 5 starters to give up a point all last year. You remember that? On that pass play where you stretched the field and they finally tackled you? Those 3 points they gave up on that drive was the only 3 points their starters gave up all year. So you had some success versus Fyffe. Long story short on that. Going into this game, what is your preparation knowing that you're playing Fyffe this week?
We need to play hard as we can, do our job.
One thing I say about Collinsville, and I think Trevor can attest to this, Collinsville is one of the few teams that don't fear Fyffe. I think you agree with that, Trevor. I'm going to let you talk about that.
100%.
Both games last year was a war. Talk about that rivalry in general, Trevor, and what it means to you guys.
I mean, last year,
And the year before that, everyone they were Fyffe this, Fyffe that, but you just look at it like another week. I mean, at the end of the day, you're lined up man against a man.
It's true.
But Fyffe and Collinsville, it goes back. I mean, we're all pretty close with all the guys up there. I mean, we're just neck and neck.
Now, there's a member of the Fyffe
Here we
team
go.
that you're a little bit closer with. Talk about your relationship with Coach Benfield.
I mean, it all started, you know, just we were playing them, and you know, when you hit a guy low, the other coach he gets a little mad. We just, I don't know.
You made a career out of hitting people low.
I think he respected it. That's what he did.
That's right.
I think
He's told me he has.
that
His tenacious.
I think he sees a lot of himself in Trevor.
Yeah.
But when we heard that Benfield and Trevor were big buddies, we were like, no way.
It was like, what a combination. You know what I mean? Have you guys got to break down film on Fyffe yet?
Yes, sir. We watched a little bit of film today.
Did you watch the Isabella game?
Yes, sir.
What did you see? I mean, it's the same stuff they run, but what stuck out to you?
Just how perfect they are in every single thing they do. I really admire it.
Or what did you see from those guys?
I think it's negative. Not gonna do something.
I got you. Well, let me ask you guys this. Talk about what's going to be going through your mindset moments before you walk out of that tunnel to play Fyffe. You're going to be playing the number 2 team in 3A, hosting this time. They're coming to your place. I want each one of you guys to answer that question.
Well, before every game, I just tell myself, you know, go out there and play as hard as I can, because that's all I can control.
That's true.
I always try to do my job so the other guy can get some hits in.
Coach Garrett's done a fantastic job of coming in with a lot of energy. He really loves his players. He really loves the team, the town of Collinsville, and you guys are 2-0. That's huge. Trevor, I want you to talk about what you've seen from the guys since you've seen them play.
I mean, I played with these guys all through high school. They got a lot of young guys come up, and I think they're really stepping in the footsteps of the culture at Collinsville. And I think they've been around long enough to know that they're not scared of anybody, and it's just another day in the office.
It's true.
That's the way she goes.
And
Way through, buddy.
on the Fyffe side of it, Coach Benefield likes to play games. He don't like off weeks, and he actually had an off week this week to prepare. So I think you guys kind of know what they're going to run. They've been doing it since he put that offense in. They got everybody healthy for once. Coming off the win versus Isabella was a really big team, really physical team. That Coach Benefield even said himself before that game kicked off that he was a little bit worried about their size. But they executed pretty good and moved the ball and got up on Isabella. I think they broke their spirit a little bit. Isabella went and beat Maplesville by 1 point. So I think Fyffe is, as advertised, number 2 team in the state. But I also think with them being as good as it is, it's also a tremendous opportunity for Collinsville to make a statement on how good they are hosting that game. So it'll be a very interesting game this Friday, and that'll be the game I will be at. So I'll see you guys on the sidelines. And I appreciate you guys coming down and hanging out with us. Look forward to having you guys on again. All right, thank you guys.
All right, guys, our next game we got coming up, we got actually some special guests in. We got the Douglas Eagles. They're hosting Sardis this week in their first region game. I'm going to let these 2 guys introduce themselves for you.
Jonathan Fontaine, number 17, Douglas, Alabama.
Braxton Lindsay, number 3, Douglas, Alabama.
All right, guys, y'all are coming off a big win against Brindley Mountain. Y'all won 48-6. Jonathan, you had a pretty big run in that game. Is it Douglas' record for longest touchdown?
Yes, sir.
93 yards. Talk to us about that.
I just had to thank my line mainly. They opened up a gap. They gave me the opportunity to run the ball. I mean, they're the reason we get what we get in the game.
I like it, man. I like it.
I think we got to thank God too. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm serious. But you had to have some speed to keep pulling away once they opened that crease up.
Oh, yeah. For 93 yards.
Yeah, that's it.
And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, setting up that play, I think y'all recovered a fumble.
No, sir. That was late in the third.
That was late in the third. Okay, I do remember reading something about a fumble.
Yes,
Braxton, you had a pretty big game yourself. Talk to us about that.
I ended up throwing, in the first quarter, I ended up running one in, and then later, around the same quarter, ended up throwing a 30-yard pass. So I was pretty stoked about that. And
I've got a question now. You guys are 2-0 for the first time since when?
1997.
97. What does that feel like, man? Just from a standpoint of, like talking about getting out. You always want to start good. Being 2-0, out of the gate like this. How important is that for you guys, and what does it mean to you guys?
It's really important. I mean, I'm glad we got a coach that cares for us and also explains things to us and how to get through it through the week. Tells us to focus on the game, don't let the moment get too big, which is what we've done in the past. But now we're learning how to mainly focus on that game, what we have to get done to win the game.
It's pretty awesome. You two guys had a chance to work out with over the summer with a pretty special person. Former Alabama quarterback Blake Sims, and he was at your first game this year. Talk to us about that, your relationship with Blake and how that kind of came about.
When I was in, I believe it was 5th grade, my mother signed me up for a football camp, which Blake Sims was putting on. And then through that camp, I became friends with his younger brother, Hunter Sims, and we just kind of talked. And then later on, throughout the year, I went to an H.A. McCarron camp, and we talked to Hunter, and my mother met Hunter, and he talked to her. He said, "Hey, would y'all like to go eat dinner?" Well, we said yes, and then he said, "Is it all right if my brother and Christian Jones come?" He said, "Who's your brother?" She said, "Blake Sims," and she said,
"Oh, by the way,
yeah."
Just throw that in there.
And then after that, ever since then, we've just been real close friends with Blake and Hunter and Christian Jones.
That's pretty awesome.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Pretty cool on Blake Sims' part too.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Alabama fan, so I think that's like extra cool.
I'm not an Alabama fan, and I think that's cool. Now you guys are being 2-0 is great, but you guys are mostly sophomores and freshmen.
Yes, sir.
Talk about that a little bit. I mean, that's how big is that to be this 2-0 and have so many young guys?
Yeah. I believe it helps us a lot more than having a lot of older guys, because nothing against the older groups, but throughout the years, the older groups have always been put down. They've had coaches come in and out and leaving us within a year, less than a year. Our younger group, we've always been mainly successful throughout the seasons. I mean, in Pee Wee, we won a Super Bowl championship. Middle school, we went 6-2. So us being a lot younger is not so bad for us because we know how to compete and we build each other up.
You guys are in that sophomore class this year, correct?
Yes, sir.
I remember talking to you, talking about you guys from one of your former coaches when I stopped by and talked to Coach Wadley last year, and he talked about this group coming up would be a special group.
Yep,
and one thing I tell you about Douglas, their facilities is pretty solid.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to a lot of schools that we go into. Beautiful stadium. Their field house is very nice. It was real well kept when I went there. And I've been in some it's pretty rough, but theirs is really nice, and their stadium is really nice. You guys got something to be proud of there in that. And now that your football team's winning, that is fantastic all the way around. I can't be more happy for you guys.
It's pretty huge for the community. Let's talk about your next opponent. Like I said, your first region game is Sardis this week. Talk about how important getting off to a good start in region play is for you guys.
It's very important because right now, our main goal for this season, how we've started out strong, we want to finish real strong. We're trying to get that 4th spot in our region. That way we can go to the playoffs for the first time since, I think, 91, I believe.
Oh, wow.
It's been a while.
I think you guys we're going to try to win the region this year.
Yeah. Yes, I say shoot for the stars is winning.
Hey, I've seen stranger things happen. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Josh beat me in Madden one day, so that's that happened, and anything can happen.
That's our main focus right now. Is we got to start small, and our goals get bigger as we go through the season. Mm-hmm. And mainly, what we want to do, we got to focus on this moment, this game, and in the words of Coach Rawls, which is our head coach, don't let the moment get too big.
I like it, man.
100%.
I like it.
I like it. All right, guys, I'm really pulling for you guys. We're going to keep tabs on you guys as the season goes on. You guys definitely be on this preview show. Yeah. Hopefully we get you guys on again sometime.
Oh, yes, sir.
I appreciate you guys making the trip.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having us.
On to the next one.
All right, moving on to our next game. We got the Southside Panthers in house. These guys are getting ready to host Pell City in their first region game. Southside's coming off a huge win over county rival Hokes Bluff 21-14. I guess before we get started, let these guys introduce themselves.
You want Morton? Michael Rich.
All right, guys. Talk to us a little bit about the Hokes Bluff game. from last week?
It was probably our roughest game so far. Just a lot of hits, a lot of hard hits actually. It was muddy, really muddy.
Yeah, you play linebacker.
So
So, you guys play as well, you know what's coming.
So-
a lot of ISOs, a lot of inside punch and tracks and stuff.
So-
How did you prepare for them? And then, to make matters worse, I don't think the field could have been in worse shape.
Oh,
You had to have your footing nose, they had a huge line coming right at you.
they had a pretty big line. We just had to close all those gaps down. We had to close all of them, but they made some good runs on us too.
I got another peanut gallery. I gotta ask you a question right here. Michael, you guys started out on that drive. They kicked off to you down there at the end, and it really is swamp. And you guys had a turnover right there at the start of the game, and they would capitalize on it. Did that kind of break what momentum you guys had to proceed? I know you guys want to come out of the gate hot.
Absolutely, yeah. You want to start off well, and that's not obviously what we did. But at halftime when we were in there, we knew that it's 14-14, so technically it's a 0-0 ball game. It's just we started right where we started, at kickoff. So it killed kind of the momentum, but also just we had to get used to the field being like that. We haven't played in a game where it was just soaking wet, and the passing game although it wasn't open, they did a great job covering it. So we had to open up the run game, and then it's kind of tough when you have somebody like Hunter Burke and Will Clemens come in and filling in those outside gaps. So we had to adjust to that. We came in from halftime to make those adjustments, and then we were all good.
So one thing I noticed after halftime was the adjustments Coach Nelson and his team made. It looked like you guys pulled together, figure out what you had to do to move the ball. Because I know the field conditions kind of took away some of the passing game, but it seemed like Hokes Bluff and the secondary had some trouble with their zone coverage. Did y'all give them some different looks, or what was that?
They came out. I was expecting a lot of rolling movement from the safeties, and they really didn't. They didn't move that much. Because then they actually did a great job of covering a lot of the concepts that we had. Second half when we came out with a different plan, I had to make different reads. I had to base my read off a different guy rather than what the film saw from the past years of playing. That was probably the biggest adjustment at halftime, was just changing my read and going through a different progression.
How well was the ball? Did you have any trouble holding the ball?
Most of the time, but the guys on the sideline at Berlin did a great job of keeping it dry. And I was very proud of them. And that's tough. You can't hardly do anything about it. So, it was some stuff.
Hunter Burke's actually my nephew, and Will Clemens. I call Will some of those guys like my honorary nephew. He says, "Man, those guys have literally stayed in my house. I've coached them when they were little." And one of the things, I always call him after a game, and one of the things that he said that was a huge compliment to you guys, he said, "That's a different Southside football team." And that's a compliment not only to you guys, but your new coaching staff. And it looked like a physical football team. The middle linebackers here, Eli, you had a heck of a game. I was impressed.
I was too. Defensively, shut them down after they got to that 14.
Absolutely.
Like I said, and that's huge. That's huge, man.
Yeah.
Because they had all of them too, and then something quick.
You guys are getting ready to start region play. 2-0, 2 huge wins from 2 rivals. So, have y'all watched any film on Pell City?
We have.
You have. What have y'all seen from a defensive standpoint, Eli, or from an offense standpoint?
They can't really run outside too well, and they like to get the ball to 7 a lot too. They're going to try and put him at H-back and run a screen with him some, and try and slip him upfield. They have 7, 1 big back, and they're going to swap him out a little bit.
Peanut gallery?
No, it's But anyways, Mike, what have you seen from their defense?
Yeah, Pell City, they're always going to have, athletes like crazy. That's just who Pell City is. Imagine they always have a great coaching staff. So, they're going to be a solid team, just like, every team that we have on our schedule. So, we're just taking it, another week. We got to go 1-0 through the week, and that starts today. That starts yesterday from when we headed up there to the field house for workouts. And, the past 2 days, I feel like we're getting there. We're getting in that spot. We got to adjust to what they have because we haven't played Pell season in a few years now. We just got bumped up to 6A. So, yeah, that's probably the biggest adjustment, just getting ready for it. But, a lot of them are, it's kind of similar to Lincoln because Lincoln's athletes like crazy as well. And so, you got to get ready for it, and film helps and watching a lot of it. So you got to stay in there and prepare yourself, not just physically but mentally.
You just work your own judge right now.
You guys are off to a 2-0 start, which is great. That's huge, and congratulations to both of you guys. And we wish you the best of luck this week.
I appreciate
Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you all.
And we're moving on to the next one.
And on to our next game, we have 2 Piedmont players with us. I'm going to go ahead and let these guys introduce themselves.
Jack Hayes.
Austin Estes.
And you guys are coming off of a big win. It's on the tip of so many people's tongues of going into Cherokee County. And what did you call it, Jack? I'm just playing, don't say that. So what I wanted to talk about is Estes. You and Jack had a connection on the field with a touchdown pass. What went through your head, sweet little Estes, as you caught that pass and put Piedmont ahead?
Just beat my guy to the inside and just let Jack get the ball to me. He does a great job of putting it out there and just let me run right under it.
For those who don't know, these are the 2 that hooked up on that 80 yards? 81 yards in the state championship game that changed the whole complexion of that game. Josh and I was in the stands, and that was the play that the whole game shifted. And the scary part is they're both underclassmen. That was his sophomore year, his freshman year.
No.
Right?
Is it?
I know more about Piedmont than you. I got this.
Did you say that year? I thought you were talking about this year.
Last year. We're
Okay,
talking
I was like,
Are you okay?
No.
But I do got a question for you guys. Coming in that Cherokee County game, on paper, which we all thought, they had put up 41 points the week before. We thought it was going to kind of be a little bit more high scoring game. I know you guys had to prepare for that, but then, we expected these wet conditions, and the field was kind of wet, but the rain held on. How big was that for you guys? Do you think that definitely helped in your passing game at least?
Oh, definitely. When we get to throw the ball more, open up our playbook more, I have to run it every play.
100%.
But speaking of running it, Jack has a charming little anecdote. Like, I don't know if anyone noticed this or not, but Jack Hayes actually hurdled a defender during the game. So go ahead, Jack, tell us about that.
I was just surprised when I hit the ground and I was still on my feet.
But we were proud because I told him that if he'd gotten hurt, I would have visited him in the hospital and matched the legs, broken them both.
Estes, on a 1 to 10 scale, where would you rate your hair?
Oh, it's definitely 10.
The mullet videos, we got to get them all together.
Mullet video.
Oh, it's going to be.
Over, and you are mine.
Oh, he's.
It's going to be an all-star.
Yes.
Josh, have you watched this huddle? This guy, talk about what you've seen, Mr. Estes.
He reminds me of a wide receiver that was there a couple of years ago.
Bailey Blanchard.
He does.
I guess a couple of steps faster, Mr. Bailey Blanchard.
Well, it's not the hair that reminds you of me. This is what you get for not coming, bud. You can't defend yourself. But now, and speaking of like players in the past, Jack Hayes is a lineage player. His cousin, Tyler Lusk, was the quarterback 2013-2014. His little brother. His big brother was there 2015-2016, and now you are like really just making waves. Like out of you 3, who's the best? And Tyler, you can't fight right now. I know.
I gotta hear this.
Oh, it's definitely me.
No hesitation. At this point in your career, it was kind of hard to argue with him.
Taylor's a better runner, but I throw the ball a lot better than he does.
And Tyler's the tallest.
Tyler can throw it a lot farther than everybody else.
Can you go?
Yeah.
I gotta ask you this, because you've had those brothers and playing, and how do they give you advice or anything after games, before games? Do you look to them for anything? I mean, it's your big brother, so how does that work?
Tyler always texts me before the games, tells me good luck, and Taylor's a coach this year. He helps coach. And this, I wouldn't call it motivation, but he practice tells me that half of my throws are bad and I need to get better.
When you got constructive criticism, is that what we say?
That's exactly what we call it.
Okay.
And then you also have a few more of Piedmont alumni on the sidelines with you, and in the press box you've got Kevin Bedwell. He's a Piedmont alum. He was quarterback. We've got Landon Pruitt. You've got T. Hayes, and Matt Glover is there. And I don't remember what year. I mean, Matt was there like long before I was even born. I'm certain of it.
My dad coached in '98.
Yeah, see, I wasn't born yet. I'm just playing. I was. So what does that mean to you guys to have alumni there that have the Piedmont culture, or the Piedmont, like it's ingrained in them, like they literally bleed blue and gold?
Yeah, it means a lot because they can just keep the tradition going.
And the winning tradition, I mean, it's Piedmont's second to none really in winning. I mean, in the state. And there's a few teams may have more state championships, but over the last 20 years or so, they're toe-to-toe with anybody. And for you guys to keep that legacy going and being underclassmen last year winning it, that was huge. And then now you're ranked number 1 again coming back. Let's start with Estes on this one. What does it mean just to be a Piedmont Bulldog and have those expectations year in and year out?
Oh, it's so much fun, having a big target on your back coming into every game. It's awesome to get everybody's best shot at you. So
I bet road games are more fun. That's when they really get their.
Yeah.
Like last Friday had to be a blast.
Being a Bulldog, Piedmont's going to bring the whole city, so it's a home game every week. So.
Yeah, you got. I'm not going to lie. They do bring the thunder on that. Same question to you, Jack.
Just what he said, just have the target on our back, and it's everybody's Super Bowl to play us most of the time. So,
how much do you guys get work in together in the off season?
Usually we're playing baseball together on the same team, so we go to the field a good bit and throw.
But now, one thing about Coach Smith, which is unlike some of the coaches we have, some coaches are fine with it. Coach Smith actually encourages you guys to play other sports. And you guys actually don't have spring football.
We don't.
I'd say that's another huge, people. A lot of people. If you said that to some coaches around this area, they'd be like, "What? Are you insane?" But the guys don't. I think they know what kind of product they got and how they're going to play. So I mean, kudos to them, big time. I mean, Piedmont's a class act program, and I'm very proud that we're covering them now, and we have Tara Dawn to really thank for that. She's really stepped up and did that.
You're welcome. So you guys are ready for sacks, correct? Now, Estes, we're going to wind this down, and I wanted to just go ahead, and while we were waiting, I asked Estes if I could perm his hair, his mullet, and he said that I can.
Sweet.
So after the game Friday, let's go ahead and get that box perm going, all right?
We're really going to do this?
We're going to perm
This is a whole segment, all I'm saying. We're going to get a sponsor for this.
We're going to perm Estes'
Perk
hair,
Plus
so
or-
you guys...
Perk Plus or something like that? Yeah.
Yes, y'all stay tuned for that. But I will close with this. I had someone tell me that they chose against Piedmont last week, and he was like, "Oh, I'll never do that again."
Oh, yeah.
And I guess it was supposed to hurt my soul or make me feel sorry for him. But I told him that you guys thrive on that, and that you guys are not too terribly concerned with other people's opinions. So,
With a haircut like this, you think he cares what somebody thinks? Estes is a savage, bro.
but we'll see you guys Friday. Go Dogs!
All right, our next game is going to bring us into the Etowah Blue Devils versus Kevin's favorite team, Oneonta. Now, Etowah's hosting this week, correct?
Sure.
I'm going to let these two Blue Devils introduce themselves at this time.
My name is Ethan Foster, number 8.
Tay Wright, number 7.
Now, we've had Tay on before, and Tay actually had a bit of an injury, Tay, but you had an off week last week, so you're going to be cleared to play. What happened to you, my man?
Accident.
Was it a non-football accident? It was a football accident.
Not
Yeah, it was a HIPAA violation. We don't need to talk about it. Kevin, you're a big fan of Oneonta.
Well, I respect Oneonta. I like to talk trash about them, but I do. It's ironic that.
There's no mistake that you're on this segment because you're not the biggest Oneonta
What color am I
fan.
wearing? May not be Etowah blue. Well, actually, this is kind of redskin blue too, so it's kind of.
But talk about if you had your way to go about this game, what would happen?
Well, I got to be careful because Oneonta plays Ashville next week, so I don't want to light that flame any more. But I look at it from Etowah's standpoint. You know, they still got, you know, they hadn't played a game since they lost to Gadsden City, and that taste is still in their mouth. And I don't know how I'd be as a player. So I think the Etowah players, it's an understatement that y'all are motivated for this game. And Oneonta, this is their first game because they had to forfeit the first two because they had a lot of COVID-19 issues. So in the games at Jim Glover Field, and if Etowah comes out and plays like I expect them to, it may not be much of a game, in my opinion. But now Oneonta's got a lot of skilled athletes. They always have. So it's going to be interesting to see how that, as the game goes on, see how Etowah's adjusted from.
Well, here's something that's going to be huge. We'll start with Ethan on this one. I want both of you guys to answer. Not having that week of film, that first week of film on those guys, how big do you think that's going to play? I know you guys are probably preparing for everything.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's a big challenge. We were watching last year's film, so we really don't have much information on what they're going to do this year. Really, we just.
I don't know if they had any coaches.
And one thing too, this hadn't been made public. Oops, it comes out of my mouth, but their quarterback is no longer playing football. He's playing basketball, and they have moved their wide receiver to quarterback, from what I've been told. So, so that'd be a good defense.
That same question for you, man. Not seeing film on them, what do you kind of flying into this blind a little bit? But what do you expect out of them?
Like we're pretty much watching the last film. Kind of hard, but
they're pretty athletic though in the skill position.
Oh yeah, they've always had athletic skill guys, so especially at wide receiver.
Well, let's ask both of you guys this: being able to host this game, how big is that?
That's good.
Yeah, for sure.
It's always good playing in front of our fans. We always have a pretty good crowd. They expect a lot of us. We owe them one, considering how we just took a loss to Gadsden City.
I honestly think though, man, that. In the long run, I think that loss is actually going to help you guys. I really do. It's one of those cases where go ahead and get it out of the way, focus back up. Now they got your coaching staff. Coaches love losses from the standpoint of getting the players' attention. Now he's got everybody's attention. You guys are probably dialed in with Coach Pierce and Coach Cook. I know you guys are probably ready to roll. What were some of the things they said to you in this off week after breaking down film that Gadsden City game? And both of you guys can answer that.
Well, Coach Pierce and all the coaches told us, they really don't condone losing. They don't like losing at all. But I think it'll help us. Because last year we didn't take an L until like our 8th or 9th game.
It was Spell City, correct?
And it affected us. Kind of took the focus from us. But I think by us taking an L early, I think it'll allow us to stay focused. Like we don't want to go through that again.
100%.
Also, too, this is an open region game, so it's even more important now.
Yeah, for sure. Tell you the same thing with you.
Well, I think the loss helped us for real. It made us come back the next week more focused. I mean, I wasn't back, but I seen how they was practicing, and today we had our minds right. I think it's gonna be a good week.
I asked for you two guys to come specifically because I watched both of you guys play basketball, and you guys are both very good defenders in basketball, move really well, and I know in the top defense you guys want to play. You got an attacking, aggressive defense. I honestly look for you guys to have a great season. I said it before the first show we did with you guys that Etowah's defense is going to be much improved, and I think that as the season draws on, people's going to see that. And I think Oneonta's going to get a little bit of it this week. They're going to get an angry Etowah, and it's going to be a different Etowah. And I wouldn't want to catch Etowah after a loss and then playing at home too. I'll tell you that right now.
I heard y'all two beat Coach Cook in Oklahoma drill. Is that true?
I don't know if I know that.
I know I've known Coach Cook since he was little. That's been a long time ago.
I don't know if we want that smoke, man.
But hey, interesting. This is the first time Etowah in Oneonta's played since 1948.
Really?
And Etowah leads the series 13-7.
Man, I'm telling you,
I think it's a good matchup.
I do too. For some reason, man, I think we're fixing to see the Etowah that we expected to see week 0. I think we're about to see that Etowah. Honestly, I do.
I do too.
Hey, I appreciate you guys coming on, and this won't be the last time we have you guys on. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Both of you guys playing basketball again too?
Yes, sir.
We'll be covering you there too. All right, guys, on to our next one. All right, our next game is going to bring us. I got some special guests in on this one right here. A team that we are all super proud of. A team that started out 2-0 for the first time since 2008. Is that correct, Coach?
That's right. Yeah.
The End Patriots are in the house, and I'm going to let these gentlemen introduce themselves at this time.
My name is Jacob Camacho. I'm a wide receiver and linebacker.
My name is Trevor Wood. I'm a defensive end and H-back.
And I'm Kyle Davis, football coach.
Coach, I remember week 0, leaving the games we were at. and I got Reggie called me. I was looking for the score, and Reggie told me you guys won, and I remember that genuine. You know, we're not supposed to show favoritism and stuff, but when I see the work and dedication that you have as a coach, and the way these guys has bought into what you guys do, and you guys start the season off with a big win like that, it genuinely makes me happy. I think everybody behind the camera can agree with that. Coach, talk about this season and coming in. I know you had the loss of like Jeremiah Robinson and some other guys, but the expectations coming in, the work and dedication, which I just talked about, and the results that you have 2-0 right now.
Yeah, you know, just a lot of people, I told the guys today, a lot of people, obviously when you win, you know, more people come and talk to you, but one of the biggest things that I've just heard people talk about is just how hard they play, and folks just enjoy watching them play, you know. And, you know, and this is my 7th year there, and I've enjoyed every year I've been there, had some good teams, had some not so good teams, but always had really good kids, you know. But this bunch has just seemed to, I don't know, taken a little bit more into maybe the pride aspect of what football's about. You know, and demonstrated, you know, we've been down in one game, we've been tied in one game without the ball, and just things were, you know, they just decided, you know, we're not going to lose this game, you know, and backs against the wall, and they played hard. And I've told them both games, you know, I love to win. We all love to win, but most importantly, I really like watching them battle, and they've probably been 2 of the most team-oriented wins we've had since I've been there.
I love it. I'm getting fired up, bro. I don't know if y'all can tell or not. But you two guys, I'm going to talk about these 2 guys specifically. And here's why, Coach. The perception of West End is you're going to get in a shootout with them every week. Not so much now. These guys have locked down defensively. And I want both of you guys to talk about that. What are you guys seeing and executing a little bit better this season than you have maybe in the past couple of years?
Like he said, taking more pride into it, for real. More effort on defense.
Just, you know, can't go out there and give up just because they score 1. You know, I've always, like during practice, I'm always preaching to my guys, you know, one mistake can't lead to a bad drive. You know, let them go down there and score again. We just got to bear down and get with it.
And Coach Mintz, I mean, what has he meant to your program at this point besides out-benching all your players?
Players. As man, I made that term, players. You said players last week. I don't know. No, you know, you know, Coach Mintz has done a great job. You know, like I said, I mean, he's came in, he's believed in the system, and you know, this really started last year. I mean, you know, we won our last 3 ball games of the year last year, and even though, you know, the Ramburn game, I mean, Ramburn was like number 6 or 5 in the state. We were up 12-0, and it was 14-12 at the half. You know, and then the wheels kind of fell off on us. But we saw that competitive edge. We saw the defense, you know, have a little bit more pride, and you know. For these 2 guys, you know, 2 guys you had here last week, you know, Hunter and Eli, you know, they're definitely our leaders. They're our silent leaders, you know. They're the guys that lead by example and they go out there. These 2 guys right here, I mean, they're those guys you hear. There's those guys that fire you up. They're those guys that talk to you. And, you know, they're those guys that are going to let the teammates know, you know, we're here. You know, we're not going anywhere. We're going to keep playing hard. You're not going to quit. I'm not going to quit. And I've heard them, you know, you hear it more. And that's kind of the perception and the attitude that we've gotten. Like I said, you know, we're a small team and we're a small school, so obviously our coaches coach both sides of the ball. You know, but like I said, Coach Mintz has had to put a good scheme together, and our kids have been able to follow it.
And those who do know, some may not know, some may know. Eli is our player of the week this week. Yeah. That's huge, his performance with 6 touchdowns. But, you know, Eli does what he does, but I'm really, this is a team. This is not, you know, Eli's an unbelievable football player, don't get me wrong, but you guys are a team now, I think. And what does that mean to you? Both of you guys answer this question. You guys, yeah, y'all have superstars and stuff, but you guys are just as big a part of this team as anybody else. And the success that you guys are seeing through what Coach has been preaching since he's been there, how does that feel to you to see that success unfolding in front of you?
It's different, for real. We haven't had like a team.
Mentality, kind of like
yeah, there's a lot of me's.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, Coach has got that something out now, like which we always refer back to the positive gossip and all the phrases that Coach uses, several phrases to be like positive gossip is our personal favorite.
Who was it that we said positive gossip to, and he made us write it down? He was very impressed with it. It started. He said he was going to implement it. It was another coach.
It was a coach. It was somebody in Birmingham.
Yeah.
It was a basketball coach. It may have been Bucky.
I think it was Bucky.
Bucky McMillan.
But to bounce off of that positive gossip, the first time I heard Bo's say it, he said, Coach Cobb Davis, and I said, I love that. Because these guys deal with way more than we ever did, social media wise. And we've kind of hit that with the average Joe.
We say it in our text threads.
We're going to be positive. You know, we're going to build these guys up. And man, I love that saying.
Yeah, you know, and what they were saying, and like you said, the social media, man, you know, there's so much negative out there, you know, and people use it for such, you know, malice things, and violent things, and terrible things, you know, and we don't just use it for football. I mean, I like to, you know, when our school makes good on the report card, you know, I put it up there last year. I mean, we try to, I mean, I think we have a great, you know, board member. I think we have a great principal. I think we have a great school staff. I think we have a great school. I think, unfortunately, sometimes West End doesn't always get the best, you know, reputation. But we are a wonderful school. I mean, our kids are great kids, and we enjoy. You know, like I said, my family's been there 8 years, and we bought into it. And my kids play there, and my kids are in the band or cheer or do something, you know. And it's just you know, I guess I got, you know, being a part of the book study that we did, and that was one of the things I got to looking, and everything's so negative. Hey, what are we going to say that's good about what we got going on? And you know, like Camacho said, we've had me's at times, but I just, for some reason, I don't know, you know, every now and then you get that group that comes along that buys into what you say, and this bunch has, and it's shown on the field.
I want to get all three of you to answer this, and we're getting closer to shutting it down, and I got two questions for you. And you and I talked about this, and I've watched you physically, you and Coach Mance that day. The COVID-19 things hit. How special is it just to have football this fall from all the hard work? And I want all three of you guys to answer. We'll start with Camacho.
I mean, it's amazing for real. Just to be able to get out there, wearing your grab, wearing a mask, I wear it every day.
It's a new appreciation, correct?
It just feels great to be able to get out and play the funnest sport in the world, really. Get to go out there and have fun and hit people.
Well, you know, I try to message these guys, you know, every Saturday after a game, win or lose, and say, hey man, how you doing? Checking in, that kind of stuff. And all of them, you know, they'll message me back. I'll be like, hey, we'll get you in the end zone. Hey, Coach, it ain't about me, man. It's about team. We got the wins going on, that kind of stuff. And I think when you take something away from somebody, you know, like these baseball guys, these basketball guys got things taken from, you know, the appreciation value just rises, you know. And they worked hard all summer, not really knowing. And then when they got that go ahead, you know, why not play it like it's your last down, you know? And I think a lot of them maybe have carried that on.
Every snap.
Yeah.
Next question, Coach. You have a very, very tough opponent this week who had a very successful season last year. They're off to a 1-0 start this year. They beat Cedar Bluff 55-0 in Spring Garden. Talk about the problems and challenges they present that you've seen on film.
Well, honestly, I think Tradition's one of the biggest problems you're going to play. I mean, they're 11-2 the last 2 years, and been beat by Cedar Bluff and then Pickens County in the third round. They expect to win the football game. I mean, there's no doubt about that. They expect to win. I think they expect to win the region. I mean, they've got everybody back on offense, all 11. They got 8 back on defense. And, you know, when you sit there and you look at it, you know, when you look at a team that believes they're supposed to win and knows they're going to win and they're going to come out there, they're not going to quit, they're going to fight you tooth and nail. You know, everything we've done up to this point, we're going to have to bring that and that much more. I mean, we really are. They're a great coach football team, and they've got kids that believe they're supposed to win.
And you guys actually travel over there as well.
We do, yeah.
And they have a lot of really good football players, and you're right. But you know what? You guys have a lot to be proud about. And I wouldn't want to play you guys right now. It seems like y'all guys are figuring it out on defense. You're figuring it out as a team aspect. And you guys are a dangerous team as well, and I think they're going to respect that.
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, if we, and I told the guys this today, obviously we can finish 2-8. We can. I mean, you know, that's just the reality of it all. But I believe that every week we've gotten better, and if we'll just take that same mentality out there this week, I think we're going to have good things happen for us.
Thanks, so too. And I appreciate you two guys coming on. Definitely don't want this to be the last time you guys come on.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. On to the next one. All right, our next group of folks we have in the Ashville Bulldogs. We have head coach Shay Monroe. We have in the legendary Nick Wilson, the legendary, what's your name again, Kevin? Kevin Moore.
Yeah. You're using the word legendary so loosely.
Tara Blanchard,
Shay
who
Monroe.
has stolen our race jersey that Coach has given us. No. Beautiful jersey from representing the 64.
Reggie, this wouldn't fit you. It barely fits me, and I have chicken arms.
I'm sure he's got one that doesn't fit me.
He does. I'm sure he does.
We
do. Coach Shay Monroe, let's start with you. Last week you went on the road to Southeastern. You didn't get the results you wanted. But talk about the overall experience of that game last week and what you've learned from it.
Yeah, we first thing we need to learn to do is practice better. We did not have a great week of practice, and that's 100% my fault as the head coach. I'm responsible for how our team performs on Friday night, and we didn't have a great week of preparation. It showed last Thursday against Southeastern. Give them a lot of credit though. They came out and played a really good ball game. First half it was kind of a tale of two halves. First half we forced 3 turnovers and only got 7 points out of it. So we were up 7-0 at the half, and our defense was kind of bending but not breaking. We had a hard time getting off the field on third down. Offensively, we struggled most of the night, and we got a long way to go. But overall, the effort wasn't bad, so that's something to build on for next week against Good Hope.
I like it. I know you and I talked off the camera a little bit. You said with them winning last week, you kind of had a battle that some of the guys were a little too, I guess you said, confident coming into this week's practice. And I know you said you were going to address that.
Right. Yeah. And we got to learn that when we win and people tell you how great you are all week, you got to flush it. You got to flush it. You got to move on, because that's what good teams do. They move on and get focused for the next week. But once again, not taking anything away from Southeastern, they played a really good ball game in the second half and really took it to us.
I'm going to talk about this gentleman on the far right here, the string, Nick. The things you've done, and Kevin also with Ashville Athletics. There's a lot of schools don't have what you guys do. Matter of fact, I don't know any school that has what they do.
No.
A lot of schools don't have a Nick Wilson.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nick Wilson's, he's a pretty solid guy.
The one time I'm actually serious about something, nobody believes it. So.
Hey, he's what Nick does and what both you guys do. Is the only school I know of that has their actual own network.
I think I know of one other school maybe, and that's a 7A school south of Birmingham. So I think that's.
But Nick, talk about what kind of led you into that role there here at Asheville, and the role that you're currently in coaching the room.
So it all started in 2012. I was a student at Asheville. I was a junior. We had a new head coach coming in, and he sort of wanted to promote the football team. And so I sat down with a couple of guys, and really one guy in particular named Justin Gibbs, who also graduated from Asheville, and we sort of put this thing together, and it really kind of took off. At the time, we called it Ashville Bulldog Sports, and it just sort of rolled into it. I graduated in 2014, went to Auburn. I took a student position with the Auburn football team and worked down there for 4 years, and so kind of had to rely on several people back home to sort of execute the vision, I guess, if you want to say that. And really at Auburn, I learned, okay, this is how to strategize. This is what this equipment does. This is what our vision needs to be. This is how our professional team and athletic department operates, sort of at every level, both at the team level, at the department level, at the marketing level, that sort of thing. And so I took everything that I learned at Auburn and brought it back to Asheville. I graduated with my teaching degree, came back, Asheville hired me, Ms. Johnson and Coach Crump. I appreciate them, they hired me. And I got hired on with that guy right there. Was that your first
My first year, yeah.
That was his first year at Asheville, was my first year as a teacher at Asheville. And, he and I obviously got along really, really well. We were working under a different head coach, but that head coach also wanted to promote the football team, and all the other coaches were very on board with it. And so I sort of had this vision for, we do Dog Talk and Bulldog TV, 2 live programs we do every Sunday on Facebook, and I sort of had this vision for it. I had this vision for our presence online and what the website was going to do, and I sort of asked for volunteers. And Kevin was one of the guys that immediately answered that call.
He has a face for radio, but
he does have. Look, I love Kevin, but you're right. He does have a face for radio.
The best face for. Hey, tell it like it is, man. I'm not going to deny that. So.
So we now have, fast forward to now, we now have a team of about 8, I think, of eight folks. Awesome. We have a staff photographer. Awesome. We have, we've pretty much split up all our sports. We have 4 analysts actually that will analyze and break down the different sports for us on Dog Talk and Bulldog TV. And it's really, really cool because our school is able to capitalize on that when it comes to advertising, when it comes to taking advantage of what this sort of new media has to offer. And I feel like we have a kindred spirit. Like with you guys because y'all are doing the same thing and y'all started from scratch and you've built this thing from the ground up, and what y'all are doing is great. And so I really do feel like down the road, us partnering with one another hopefully is in the future.
Sure.
But then when Coach Monroe got hired, he sort of said, hey, I want you to come on specifically with the football staff as the director of football operations and sort of to help me manage the day-to-day. Granted, he is an incredibly organized person. He's probably the most organized head coach I've ever dealt with. But he and I we think a lot a lot of the times. Like the jerseys, we were on the same page with the jerseys. But, you know, 90% of the time we think along the same lines, and I'm just there right now I'm helping our offensive coordinator sort of analyze the offensive side of the ball. I don't coach a position. I sit back and I help him run practice, and I help him run staff meetings and help execute his vision. That's my job, is to be sort of his go-to, his support guy. And so that's what I'm balancing that and balancing the media thing, and I'm in a great place. I appreciate him allowing me to be free to do all of those things.
Coach don't put up with the people not being prepared either. I said
exactly.
Yes. Yeah. He had to do some corrections. People forgot their bags.
Speaking of partnerships, I would like to propose.
Oh, here we go.
Do you remember The Blind Side where Sandra Bullock calls down and she's like, hey, can I call you one Friday night and say, hey, run the dang box?
Well. First off,
the only box there is.
First off, that would be great.
Okay, great.
Except for the fact that I don't carry my phone out with me to the games. So that's something I don't do.
Do you?
I do.
All right.
Yeah, don't.
Look, I'm not to intervene here. We
I got enough people in the stands telling me what I need.
Yeah. And I'll address those people at another time. Anyway.
I get that.
Tom, talk about your fandism and where it's at on the
For Shea Monroe specifically, it's a solid 15. You know, I can't help it. Like
All right, Shea Monroe, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban. Where's this?
Nick Saban, Shea Monroe. Why's Kirby in that?
What about James?
James Blanchard. I mean, you know, there's a little anecdote that I like to say, but I'm not going to say it here. But he my dad.
He's putting you on the spot.
He is. James Blanchard's number one, and all others fall short.
You're just saying that.
No.
But
non-blood related coaches. Shea Monroe's number 2 behind Saban.
Behind Saban.
Okay.
Oh, but wait, now I love George Bates too. Like George Bates is a hero. Steve Smith, actually. Steve Smith.
Okay, like I keep falling further.
Okay, so let's do it. Steve Smith, Nick Saban, Shea Monroe.
Okay.
Top 3.
I got
Sorry,
a football
Bates.
question now. You're
You
saying
on the same page?
Coach, you know, you suffered a loss last week, but now have you noticed today at practice you got their attention back a little bit more?
Yeah, it was a really good day of practice. You know, and it's easy, and this is such a cliche thing to say for coaches, but it's the truth. It's so easy to have good energy and be positive when things are going well. And you know, the fact of the matter is this, you know, I'm not interested in building a good team. I'm interested in building a good program. And everybody started somewhere. You know, you look at guys, you look at Mike Robertson at Hokes Bluff, you look at, you know, Coach Smith at Piedmont, Coach Martin at Ohatchee. Those guys all started somewhere. And, you know, that's the kind of the place I think Asheville can be. And, you know, that's what we're going to strive for every day. You know, the standard's always going to be the standard. And, you know, I don't call a play on Friday nights. Okay, I have an offensive coordinator that does that. Our defense coordinator calls the defense. They make adjustments between series. You know, it helps when you have a guy like Nick who can help you kind of manage practice. But I'm so focused on what our team's doing constantly. You know, if you're on the sidelines with us on Friday night, 95% of what I say to kids is, hey, just play. Just play the next one. Just play the next one. Because we're at a place in our program where, you know, sometimes overcoming the last play is the hardest thing for these kids to do. You know, a lot of teams are maybe overconfident. You know, we're trying to build confidence for our kids. And you know, I've been really proud of this group with how they've handled the highs and lows of our games and of our practices. But that's just kind of where I'm at with our team right now.
And if I can sort of interject, and Shay's not going to say this, but from, I guess, a guy who sort of gets an inside look, I guess, at a lot of things, Shay is really good at building relationships with our kids because he truly cares about it. And it's obvious on his face and in his interaction with them that he does truly care. And that's something that not that our other coaches don't do that, not that I don't try to do that, but Shay's really good at it. And he really, every day at practice, no matter how practice is gone, when we break it down at the end of the day, it's, hey, I love you, we should be safe, let's get after it tomorrow. And I think that speaks a lot to sort of the vision that our staff is trying to execute. And that's, we want to make sure we develop our men and our program.
And I can sentiment that because I was on the sidelines the other night, and I forget what play it was, but the kid just got left, I think he blew coverage. And most coaches would have chewed the kid out, but they were like, hey, that's all right, just get out there, next play, and just keep going. So it didn't rattle the kid, just encouraged him. So, and I thought that's something that's different this day and time.
Well, and I know that we kind of need to wrap this up. So the thing that I would like to leave you guys with is, will you show us your mad face?
That's it right there.
I love it.
That is all you need to know.
Coach, good hope coming up before we shut this one down. They're 2-0, really good football team.
Really good.
Might be the toughest team today that you played. Some guys got to be focused. Talk about them on campus.
Yeah, really good football team. I talked to Coach Scott, who's done just a tremendous job there. We were kind of talking about where our programs are at, and he said, well, Coach, 4 years ago I went 0-10. So, and he's just kind of took the same, he's had this team for a while and just built upon it. 2 years ago, they were a third-round playoff team. Last year, they got beat in the first round by Oneonta. It was a close ball game. And look, you watch them on film, the first thing that sticks out to you is they're extremely well coached. Their kids play really, really hard. They're very physical, and they got some players. Their running back's a really good player. Got a good quarterback. He kind of gets him out of bad plays because he's so athletic. And they got a couple of guys that, because of what they do offensively, they get in a lot of condensed stuff that they make you play man-to-man coverage on the outside to load the box and stop the run. Well, they got some dudes on the outside that they can throw to, and they can hurt you there. But we got our work cut out for us this week for sure. But I think if our effort continues to be where it's at, then I think we can go out there and play them close.
And thanks to COVID-19, it's homecoming this week, so because we had homecoming schedule already in here, but we moved it up just in case, because you never know with this situation what's going to happen. So
Knocking on wood, but everything's,
I'd like to see everybody come
everything's
out.
dropping. Thank the Lord above, and it looks like we're going to continue playing football. Absolutely. And Coach, good luck this week, and I really expect you guys to do some big things.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Hammer down.
The cities.
For the cities. We're on to the next. All right, our next game is going to bring us into the Ohatchee Indians, coming off a massive win at Anniston, 52-13. Although Coach tried to correct us on that.
52-13, right?
Coach Martin tried to correct us.
Yeah. He tried to squeeze a point in there on us.
He did. This week, they will be at the Creek Bank versus, I guess you'd say, rivalry again. It's not a newfound rivalry. It's an old rivalry brought back to life. But before we start talking about that game and last week's game, let's let these two gentlemen introduce themselves and what position they play.
I'm Gregor King. I'm offensive right tackle and defensive nose guard.
I'm Connor Basil. I'm outside linebacker and quarterback.
Josh, if we had
God of Thunder.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Josh, if we had to rate these two haircuts, I mean, where are we at on 1 to 10?
I don't want to keep giving out 10s because I feel like it undersells it, like it cheapens it, but I've got to say a 10. Well, I'm going to say 9.5 right here because we seen the 10 picture.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if I would have got my lines cut in the sides, but I didn't yet.
We still got time for the game Friday.
Yeah.
Let's get this happening. But let's go back and talk about last week before we talk about Walter Wellborn. You guys knew going into that game, and Coach Martin talked about this, their athletes were going to be fast, they're going to be physical. You also knew that when you play Anniston, They're going to lean on you. They're going to hit on you. Coach Martin talked about that. What was you guys' game plan and mindset going in that game individually?
I just knew how to get out there and execute, get the job done. It's not about what happens in the first 5 minutes of the football game. It's about what happens from the first whistle to the very last whistle that ends the game. Whatever you got to get out there, you got to make sure you do what you're supposed to do.
I think we just needed to be more physical than them and just do what we do.
Well, I know what y'all do. Y'all line up and run it between the tackles and usually beat people in the submission.
Yeah, that's what we were actually talking about this yesterday or today.
On the phone?
Yeah,
yesterday
about Coach Martin's speech before Ramburn last season, and he said there'll always be a lot of emotion in big games, but once the first 4 or 5 minutes wears off,
and it becomes a football game.
The team that executes is usually the team that takes it to the house. And he's right. I mean, with y'all having 24 or 25 game regular season winning streak, teams get up and y'all get everybody's best shot week after week after week. But I mean, it's just as part of the culture is just keep plugging away and just keep, if Coach Martin, he preaches, concentrate on what you can do your job, and all those little details will add up and take care of the big stuff.
100%. Let me ask you guys, this is a question going in. You guys are 2-0 now. This is going to be your first region game, and it's against Walter Wellborn, who's a top 5 team. Talk about what you envision for that atmosphere to be like on the Creek Bank this Friday night.
Man, I know there's gonna be a big crowd there, and I know this emotions gonna be high at the beginning of the game, but you can't let your emotions get the best of you. You gotta go out there and you gotta do your job from the very beginning to the very end. Make sure you execute like you're supposed to.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna be a game like we always have with them. We always kind of knock heads a little bit.
2 physical football teams.
I think it's going to be a good atmosphere. I think there'll be a lot of fans there.
Both you guys play defense as well too, right? So,
yes, sir.
From what film you've seen from Jet Smith, he's one of the best football players in the state, period, 1 through 7A. Some of the problems he presents from you, how do you guys plan on containing him specifically?
I don't think they can say.
We'll keep it quiet.
Kind of got to keep it a little bit quiet.
Well, they can talk about what they've seen on film.
Yeah.
We've seen that he hands it off, but he also likes to boot it around and stuff like that. But we just know that we got to stay at our positions and don't leave home too early before you notice he's around the back and gone.
He's one of those guys that you gotta stay honest with. You've been on the defensive front. You specifically definitely have to kind of maintain that line of scrimmage and let some of your backers make plays. But talk about your role in this game coming up.
I mean, I just gotta do my job. Get to put my hands on the people I'm supposed to. Give the linebackers opportunities they need to make the tackles.
Because Wellborn, they were undefeated last year in the regular season, made it to the semis. Mm-hmm. So Anderson made it to the semis in 4A.
Yeah,
you could. 2 opponents out of the gate like this.
So it don't get easy.
This region there is just monstrous. But I know you guys are one game at a time guys. So, Josh, what else you got from? What have you seen from Ohatchee, Josh? That's really impressed you?
They've lived up to my expectations. If you go back and look, when y'all said what do you expect from Ohatchee, I said speed, and the fact that Aiden Simpson had him a 52-yard touchdown rush is testament to that. But I was talking to the guys earlier, and everybody's fast. I mean, for their position, everybody's fast.
And physical.
Yeah, it's just they say speed kills, but when you combine that with the discipline, like they talked about, of not over pursuing, staying in your lanes, doing your job, it's going to end up. We don't make predictions on the show, but I had a feeling Ohatchee would win. I didn't know it would be 52-13. I was very impressed by that.
Before we shut this down, death match, steel cage, 2-on-2, hair versus hair. You guys versus Eli and Aiden. Who wins?
Well,
hair versus hair. Not a fight.
Eli,
Just hair versus hair.
Eli picked his out a few days ago.
Oh, I heard. Coach said. Does anybody got a picture of that?
I do on my phone.
Please, before you get out of here.
Yeah, y'all can send that to us.
He had it froed out. And
That'll be on the camera.
it's pretty crazy.
So-
It was sticking out the back of the helmet like crazy.
Normal Eli and normal Aiden versus you two guys.
I don't know.
This is a death
They
match.
got some length on there. If I would have had, if I got my
Carson
hair
had
back,
his on
I
camera.
think we're underestimating the God of Thunder right
we
here.
might put up a chance.
Yeah.
Where does the Thor God of Thunder hair come
Thor
from?
over here.
It's not a mullet. I mean, who needs a mullet when you can look like the God of Thunder? I mean, Josh, you agree?
That's my favorite Avenger, so.
That's a good point. Josh, you got anything else? You two guys got anything else?
No, I'm looking forward. It should be a great game.
Oh, I mean,
It'll be one of
Calhoun
the top
County.
games of the state.
Oh yeah, 1 through 7 days a week. You were not going to find a more hostile environment for Wellborn to come into than what they're about to come into.
Wellborn fans are pretty feisty too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, what do they call it? The hill top over
The
there?
hill.
The hill? Yeah.
Yeah.
The hill and the creek bank.
The hill versus the creek bank. Yep.
I like where their heads are at. We're going to move on to the next. Gonna do it. Our next game brings us to Clay Central Volunteers. The Fighting Danny Horns. Josh, they are going to be at Sylacauga, who's also 2-0 this week. Clay Central is also 2-0. We are looking at a very, very. Go ahead, Peanut Gallery.
I'm sorry. Sylacauga is coached by former Alabama quarterback Andrew Zhao.
Andrew Zhao.
His first year.
So he's going up against a guy with 8 state championship rings, who's 300 wins under his belt.
Yeah.
Probably not an ideal setting for him, I would imagine. I could be wrong.
Sylacauga, they look pretty good. I watched their last game they played Lincoln, I believe it was, and they looked really, really good. And this is off subject, but actually Lincoln looked really good in that game, and Southside beat Lincoln. So, but with that being said, I kind of went around the world right there, but this will not be like it was last year, I don't think. I think Sylacauga is a little bit better. And I'm not saying Central Clay is not as good as they were last year.
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. They really did. I was at the Benjamin Russell game, and it got really chippy. But Benjamin Russell came out, and they were ready to play. As a matter of fact, they ran the opening kickoff back for a touchdown. But Central Clay does what Central Clay does. There was no panic on the sidelines. And I debated about whether or not I was going to bring this up or not, but there was some bad calls in that game. But
Let's say they're here or there.
But we can say stuff like that. I mean, we're not members of any group or anything.
Good point.
So we can talk about the rest we want to. But there were some bad calls, and Danny Horn, I sincerely thought that he was going to end up spending the second half in the locker room. I thought, there's no way he's about to make it. He's not going to make it to the end of the game. But, he let the refs know what he thought about it, what he thought about them. And, but they do what they do. They just kept on and kept on. And, 37-20. But the first half was back and forth. And I was very impressed with Benjamin Russell. So, and from the footage that I've seen of Sylacauga, I'm very impressed.
Two-part question here for you specifically, sir. First part is, if you're a ref and you look over your shoulder and Danny Horn's behind you, going in on you, you got a guy with more than a handful and a half rings and 300 wins, and he's going off on you. Chances are he's probably going off on you for a pretty good reason. And with that being said, that's got to be kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
That's the first part of the question. Then I got another part of the question. Let me go ahead and ask you the other part of the question. So last year, Benjamin Russell thought it was a good idea to dedicate their stadium on the night Danny Horn came back to visit home when he coached there. Willie Collin Martin and Steve Savarese Stadium, is that correct? How did that work out? Because Danny Horn was also going for his 300th win.
Yeah, I thought
How did
that.
that work out?
I specifically drove all the way down to Alex City to watch that game because of those two reasons. You got one coach who was at Benjamin Russell, and they're dedicating their stadium to two other coaches, former coaches.
But they choose the week that the coach that left came.
I thought it was very odd timing, and
absolutely.
So, and Coach Horn, like you said, was going for win number 300, and he got it in a big way too. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it's pretty beautiful actually.
But what was the first question?
First one's, how intimidated would you be as a referee?
I will say this.
Danny Horn was going off on you.
I went back and watched the film, and now I think Coach Horn's threshold for holds is at 1. Because his big gripe was they didn't hold us once, they held us twice, and you missed both of them. Now, Coach Horn has what 312 wins more than I do, 8 more rings than I do. But I went back and watched film. I didn't see it. I'm sure it's there, but I didn't see it. Now, the second, what really sent him over the edge was that there was a backwards lateral, and the ball hit the ground, and Benjamin Russell fell on it, and they called it Benjamin Russell ball. I went back and looked. I paused it, and there's a good yard of difference. Boyd threw it behind him to Elisha McNeil, but it was very obviously a backwards pass. So he had a very legitimate beef with that. But I mean, I probably, with my personality, I wouldn't be able to let stuff like that go. He was able to let it go and move on. And I thought halftime was just going to be horrible. But he went in there and coached them up.
As he well does, usually.
So, but I look for this week to be a real good game.
Yeah. It's two really good football teams playing, so I look for the same. And Boyd Ogles has been just as steady as you can be this far in the season. And with his play, countered by their defenses now playing very, 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 very well, I look for them. We don't make score prediction. I'll shut up. I think you know where I was going.
Just short.
Yeah. But I guess that's it. We're going to move on to the next one.
Yeah, and honestly, Central Clay I love watching Central Clay. But not to say that it's not exciting, because it is. But you know what to expect, and you get it every single week, which is it's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
But
add water and steer.
Add water and steer. But yeah, I expect it to be a good game. I expect it to be a close game, but I think the Vols pull it out. So I'll give a prediction.
Like we had said. We're going to move on to the next one. All right. Our next game will bring us into the, let me say this real loud and clear, the 2-0 Gadsden City Titans, the Fighting Ollie Smiths. All right. So now, we're not just talking about 2-0 as in scrape by, barely win. 2 blowout victory, 2-0 Gadsden City Titans, who looks like a completely different football team, especially offensively and defensively. They've got a shutout under their belt versus one of the most talented, skilled position teams, definitely in 4A, if not the state. Yep. I mean, very talented team. Reggie, you're our Gadsden City guy. They're hosting Oak Mtn this week. Oak Mtn come off a 28-21 victory over Pell. Oak Mtn's also 2-0. We're finally about to get a little taste of 7A Region 3 that everybody's been talking about.
Yep, and not Well, not trying to talk trash, but everybody has said that Gadsden City's not going to win a game in Region 3. Well, if they're still saying that, they definitely haven't seen this team play. Like we've said since after the Etowah game, this is a different Gadsden City team, it's a different animal. These guys are motivated, they're playing together as a team. Everybody has bought into what Coach Smith has done. I'm talking players, all the way down to the coaching staff and the administration. Everybody is buying into this program, and that's what you need to have a successful program to play with these teams in 7A Region 3. And this matchup at Oak Mtn is huge, and I think this is going to be if they pull off this win this week, this is going to be a statement win. They're going to make a statement. They're going to make a statement in 7A Region 3.
Buddy, I want to talk to you from the standpoint of living in the city. We live in this Gadsden metropolitan area of Michigan. What does it mean for the Titans to be 2-0, just from an overall standpoint of the city and pride?
Oh my gosh! I mean, Gadsden City, it's the big school. It's the 7A school, and a lot of people our age, we remember the old Gadsden High Tigers. And I was on the sidelines for the Etowah game. And I was sitting there with Reggie, and I was looking at the offensive line, and I said, my goodness, I mean, they look like the old Gadsden High Tigers, the big guys up front, the size, and their running back, C.J. Miller, looks like Refrigerator Perry. This guy's a monster. He's a beast, and he runs track. I mean, this guy can move. So
just got
the athletes on this team is unbelievable. I saw on social media, I forget who posted it, but I think it was Coach Edron Lane showing that catch from Brady Troop to DeMarcus Macon, where Macon just lays out. You can see the athleticism these guys portray. It's unbelievable. They're a lot of fun to watch. And man, for this city, this town to have this team having success is huge, and we support them, man. I'm so happy for them.
By the way, Macon had 2 of those catches.
He did.
He had 2. That's
he had
right.
2. One of them was called back, but hey.
Brick Boy did a special on it, and then it was shared by PME actually, Breed Simmons and those guys, which is pretty remarkable. Breed and sharing something down here. That's awesome. Now, here's the deal. Defensively, Gadsden City looks a lot better. That's the key to me. If they're going to get these wins in 7A Region 3, obviously they're going to score points, but they cannot let these games get out of hand.
Speaking on the defense, last Thursday night, the offense came out. They did what they've done the first 2 games. They come out, scored 2 quick touchdowns, got up 14-0, and the defense. I don't know what happened, but Fort Payne came back and tied the game up. And something different that I've noticed that hadn't been done in previous years is Gadsden City made adjustments on defense, and those 14 points that they scored, that was the last they scored until the 4th quarter when we took the starters out. So. Hats off to the defensive coaches and that coaching staff for making those adjustments to not let that game kind of go the other way.
100%. I agree with that. I'm looking forward to this game big time because I think this is a different team. Everybody in here, there's not a person in this building that doubted Ollie Smith is going to get this done. The question was, when was he going to get this done? His off-season transitions to new coaches and getting rid of some bad seeds and bringing in some positive attitude guys and the hard work these guys put in, and just the knowledge of getting that first year as him under the helm himself. This is a different football team. This is a team that's built from the ground up. We're going to see what kind of foundation they have. This week is going to be one of those games where it's going to be a really big measuring stick. This will be the biggest, fastest, most physical team they've played to this point. I don't think anybody here is going to question that. So we're going to find out early and often what Gadsden City is made of, and I honestly think they're ready for this game.
I think so. Last time they played Oak Mtn was in the 3rd round of the playoffs, which was that year. Oak Mtn had a really good team. Gadsden City beat them by like 20 or 30 points. I can't remember the exact score.
Can we get a repeat of that?
That would be great. That would be great. But one thing about Oak Mtn,
they see Reggie if that happens. I promise you.
Oak Mtn runs a triple option. You don't see too many teams that do that, and that playoff game that year, it took Gadsden City a minute to get adjusted to that. And I think Oak Mtn's going to score some points, but I don't, we don't do predictions, so I'm going to leave that alone.
All right, guys, we are going to move on to our next one. All right, our next game is going to be Center Point Eagles Had a tough loss last week by 1 point, man, to Fairfield. But they do host a very familiar team with this area, Alexandria Valley Cubs. A very physical football team, coached by Coach Ken. You know what Alexandria's going to do? They're going to run the football. They're going to be strong on both sides of the line. They're going to be well disciplined. They're going to be well coached. It's a 2.0 version of what his dad did when he was there, which you played against. Talk about Alexandria as a whole. The good thing is this one's not at Death Valley. It's actually going to be at Centerpoint. So at the Eagles Nest, wings up. But yeah, talk about the challenges that they're going to face when they play this Alexandria team.
All right, what I know about Alexandria, back when I played, it was dead again, and I'm going to tell you, he had one of the most disciplined teams. Size-wise, they weren't the biggest team, but they were so disciplined. They fire off the ball, they come off low. Actually, that was the year they won the state championship in 1997. Matt Campbell, I think you all know who that guy is. He was a running back.
Second in the nation.
And they had unbelievable talent. They were so physical. Their defense, the way they line up, they'll hit you in the mouth. So they're going to be physical. They're going to be in shape. They're going to be ready to play because they're well coached. So this is going to be a challenge for Centerpoint. But Centerpoint, we've seen them, some of their games, and these guys are fast. They can play the game. They've got a lot of athletes. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge for both teams.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Centerpoint, they're like Buddy said, they're fast. They've got a running back about like Gadsden City, C.J. Miller. I mean, the kid was 5'11", 230 pounds, and he's fast. And I think you may get into a game where it may be the battle of the running backs. Who's going to run the ball better? And somebody's going to throw a ball at some point maybe to get some big plays in and maybe take control of that game.
My biggest question from a Centerpoint standpoint in this game is they are very, very young. How do they handle losing? How do they bounce back from losing a game because they lost last week? I wish we would have brought them on, Mr. Wilcox on right here, but I would like to brought them on and let him talk about, how they've practiced today and how they look in their mindset.
Mentally prepared for the game. Even though we don't know, we've met their coaches, and I'm sure that they've got a plan in place and they're going to be ready.
100%.
Yeah, just like you said, talking with Coach Wilcox and Coach Bates, I got the feeling that these guys are going to come out ready to play. They're going to work hard this week. I saw a tweet or something on Facebook that Coach Bates had posted that one of his players felt like, he didn't need to start. Because he was disappointed in his play. So that's the kind of mindset that they've got those kids in. Can you imagine the rest of the team is probably thinking, guys, we got to do better. We got to get out here and finish. So I got to give those two guys credit because they're both great coaches, great motivators, and I think they're going to have those guys ready to play this week.
100%. I'm looking for big things out of Centerpoint and a bounce back game here. So Alexandria's going to get all they want from these guys.
Oh, yeah.
For sure at home.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
All right. We're moving on to the next one. All right. We are back. Now we're going to talk to the head coach of the Oxford Yellow Jackets. We got Mr. Coach Keith Etheredge here, who's coming off a massive win versus Pleasant Grove in a really, really hard-fought football game. And I want to bring you on, Coach. Coach, I appreciate you having us on. The Jaurus Rawls Ronnie Watkins Ford Hotline. Coach, how are you doing today?
Doing good, Bob. How are y'all doing, brother?
We're doing really good. It's an honor to have you on our preview show. We host the Keith Etheredge show each week, but to have you on our hotline, it means a lot to us. Coach, I want to start off with your team's performance. And when you want to talk about gut check, you were staring down the face of being 0-2, which is unbelievable, but you guys gutted it out, come out with a 1-point win. Talk about your overall team performance this last week.
I thought we played pretty good. We made some mistakes. Of course, some penalties, called back some big plays. Raekwon Fagan returned a punt inside of 10, and also kickoff inside of 20. And both of them got called back for penalties. Still haven't seen one of those. Still looking for them. I'm sure they're there.
Hey, Coach, Reggie here.
Hey, Reggie.
Hey. I watched that game on TV, and I can tell you got a little frustrated on a couple of those calls. It's kind of.
Yeah, I was. And like I said, I tell our kids to keep it cool, all the time. I sort of do keep mine, but, I mean, it gets frustrating, you're just trying to fight for your kids, and I think the officials know that. Every coach is like that, I think that, they do the best job they can. I've been in that situation. I've wore those stripes before when I was younger, and, it's a hard job, there's a lot of them, but, I'm going to fight for my kids just like they fight for me.
Amen. Coach, I got a question for you, man. How proud are you of that defense to keep back? Because you guys were playing some monsters over there. That quarterback wide receiver combos that they have is unlike any you'll probably see in the state. Talk about that challenge that you guys actually prevailed with.
Yeah, they're two good players, man, and they got more than just those two. I would say their offensive line averaged over 300 across the front. The defensive line was massive. I mean, they dwarfed us at almost every position. I was just so proud of our kids. I don't see. I think they're going to be a front runner in 5A. Definitely. They've got a lot of talent, a lot of speed, a lot of size. Coach Bo does a great job with them, and they're a quality team. We came out, we started good, drove right down, scored. They answered back real quick. Then it was sort of back and forth. Our defense come up with some stops. And then Rodriguez Elson made a huge play right there. A pass from Trey Higgins. Guy came, almost got him at the 8-yard line. He did a stop and go on the guy. I told him, I said, broke that dude some more. I said, that was a nasty move.
That was. Absolutely. Kevin's got a question for you, Coach.
Coach, this is Kevin. I'm the cameraman here, but I watched the game Friday night. I want to give you kudos because when y'all scored that second touchdown and went for 2, I first thought that's kind of chasing points early, but then again, that's why you've got multiple titles and I aren't your quarterback. that ended up being the play of the game, in my opinion. I thought that was a great call on your part.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I called it. We just had a bad snap.
It didn't look like a call play, but it was a good play.
Yeah. Britt made a great play on that play, and he came up big for us all night long. He probably had one of the best routes I've seen in a long time. We were running comeback on the sidelines to the sticks, and he runs, and we always say sell that takeoff. He scored on the takeoff. The guys get hit with it. He throws his hand up, and the guy looks back for the ball, and he just sticks it in the ground and comes back to the sticks, and Trey puts him on the money right there on the 3rd and about 9. And we convert that first down, and then on that drive we get one more first down right there on the 3rd down play, and then we're able to kneel on it. So, I'm just super proud of our guys and how they fought and scrapped it. They've done it for the last 2 years, like last year.
Coach, you talked about on the coaches show last week about Britt got behind the defense and you couldn't connect with him a little bit in that Thompson game, but now you actually got some connections with him. How huge was that for him, man, to get him the ball when he's open?
Yeah, it's big. Trey is doing a great job of spreading the ball around. Again, Trey had 235 yards passing.
He's unbelievable.
Like 70 yards rushing. So we had another game where he's over 300 yards, and he's already got nine touchdowns and 1 interception. So, I mean, that kid, he's going to have a special year. We just got to keep him healthy. And, he sort of gets us going. The other day, he took one outside on a run, and kid came up to tackle him, and he bulldozed him, and it sort of guided us again, just like in that Thompson game. It picked everybody up and got us going. So I thought we had a great game. I thought that up front we played pretty good. I think that for sure. Braden was having one of his best games. And he got picked up right there. I think he's gonna be okay. He had 5 pancakes in the first half.
That's amazing.
And graded out like 88%. So I mean, he's doing a great job too. Him and all those offensive linemen. Kyle Pilkington, Sanderson, Robbins, and of course my big fellas are ready to turn.
Yes, sir. Coach, looking forward to seeing you this Thursday again for the Coaches Show. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you, Coach, and you have a good night. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, I appreciate y'all having me, guys. Appreciate everything y'all are doing for these kids. Go Big Oak.
Go Big Oak. Thank you, Coach. That's all we got for this one.